Right now, I need you to do something for me. Do not scroll past this. Do not tell yourself you will come back to it later. I need you to do this right now, right where you are sitting. It does not matter if you are on your living room couch, a kitchen chair, a dining room bench, or even sitting on the edge of your bed. Plant both of your feet flat on the floor, roughly shoulder width apart. Make sure your feet are firmly grounded. Now cross your arms over your chest so that each hand is resting on the opposite shoulder. This is important because I do not want you using your hands at all. No gripping the armrest, no pushing off your thighs, no reaching for the coffee table, just your legs. Now I want you to stand all the way up using nothing but the strength in your legs, and then under complete muscular control, slowly lower yourself back down into the seated position. That is 1 repetition. I want you to do 5 in a row without stopping. Go ahead, try it right now. Now, tell me the truth about what just happened. Could you do all 5? Could you do them smoothly? Or did your legs start shaking by the second or third one? Did you feel your quadriceps, the muscles on the front of your thighs, start burning halfway through like they were being asked to do something they had not done in years? Did your body pitch forward so far that your nose was practically over your toes just to generate enough momentum to get up? Did you lose control on the way down and the last few inches turned into a free fall where you crashed into the seat instead of lowering yourself with grace? Maybe you had to uncross your arms by the 4th repetition and grab the chair because your legs simply refused to support you anymore. Maybe you could not even complete the first one without assistance. Maybe your knees screamed at you before you even shifted your weight forward. Here is why I am asking you to do this. This is not a fitness challenge. This is not some social media trend. This is a clinical screening tool. The ability to rise from a chair and lower yourself back down under control within roughly 10 seconds, about 2 seconds to stand and 3 seconds to lower with a brief pause at the top, is one of the most reliable indicators of functional leg strength in adults over 60. When that ability deteriorates, it does not just mean your legs are weaker. It means the foundation that your entire independent life is built upon is beginning to crack. And if you struggled with what you just attempted, your legs are sending you an urgent message right now. The question is whether you are going to listen. A study that tracked over 2,000 adults past the age of 60 found that those who could not perform a controlled sit-to-stand cycle at a steady pace had a significantly elevated risk of suffering a debilitating fall within 18 months. Not a stumble, not a minor trip where you catch yourself on the counter and laugh it off. A fall that changes the entire trajectory of your life. Let me explain what happens when a person over 60 falls hard. The most common serious injury is a hip fracture, and the statistics around hip fractures in seniors are so alarming that most people have no idea how dangerous they truly are. Nearly 1 in 3 adults over 65 who fracture a hip will not survive the following 12 months. That number shocks people when they hear it, because they assume a broken bone is just a broken bone. You get surgery, you do some rehab, and you get back to normal. But that is not what happens. What happens is the fracture puts you in a hospital bed, the surgery to repair or replace the hip is major, the anesthesia is taxing on an older body, then comes the immobility. You cannot walk for weeks, sometimes longer. And when a person over 60 is immobilized in a bed, a cascade of devastating complications begins almost immediately. Blood clots form in the legs because your calf muscles are no longer contracting and pushing blood back up to your heart. Those clots can travel to your lungs and become a pulmonary embolism, which can be fatal. Pneumonia sets in because you cannot breathe deeply or cough effectively while lying flat in pain, so fluid accumulates in your lungs. Your muscles begin to atrophy at a terrifying pace, sometimes losing 3 to 5% of their remaining mass in a single week of bed rest. And then comes the psychological devastation, the depression, the anxiety, the loss of identity. You went from being a person who drove yourself to the grocery store, who cooked your own meals, who walked your dog every morning, who lived life on your own terms, to someone who needs help getting to the bathroom. That is the moment when the conversation starts. The conversation your family has in the hallway when they think you cannot hear. the one about whether you can still live alone, the one about assisted living facilities, the one about selling your house. That conversation, the one that strips away your autonomy and your dignity, almost always begins with a single fall. I need you to understand something. Sarcopenia, the clinical term for age-related muscle loss, is not a disease that strikes randomly. It is a slow, silent process that begins around the age of 30 and accelerates dramatically after 60. Between 30 and 60, you lose roughly 1% of your muscle mass per year. You barely notice it, a little more stiffness in the morning, a little more effort climbing stairs. But after 60, some people lose 3 to 5% per year, and the muscles in your legs, your quadriceps, hamstrings, glutes, and calves are the first to go because modern life has made them essentially unemployed. But here is what gives me hope, and I need this to give you hope too. This is not a death sentence. It is reversible. I have spent over 25 years in orthopedic surgery, and I have seen patients in their 70s, 80s, and even 90s rebuild meaningful strength through the right targeted movements. The difference between those who declined and those who rebuilt was never genetics, it was action. Today, I am going to walk you through 5 specific movements you can do at home with nothing but a sturdy chair and a wall. But I must be honest, exercise is only part of the equation. There is a critical nutritional secret that most people over 60 are getting completely wrong, and without it, every squat and every calf raise you do is essentially wasted effort. I will reveal it at the very end of this video, so please do not skip ahead. The exercises must come first because you need to create the demand before you supply the fuel. Before we touch a single exercise, we need to prepare your joints. If you have ever tried to squeeze honey out of a bottle that has been sitting in the back of your refrigerator, you know it barely moves. But warm that bottle up and it flows freely. Your joints work the same way. They are lubricated by a substance called synovial fluid, a slippery liquid that coats your cartilage and reduces friction inside the joint. When you have been sitting or sleeping for a long period, that fluid becomes thick and stagnant. We need to warm it up so it flows properly and protects your cartilage before we ask your legs to work hard. Think of your muscles like a savings account. In your 20s and 30s, every time you ran for a bus, carried groceries upstairs, or chased your kids around the yard, you were making deposits. After 30, the withdrawals began, small at first, then accelerating. After 60, the balance is dropping fast. The 5 movements I am about to show you are deposits. Each one puts strength and stability back into your account. And if you stay consistent, the balance starts climbing again, regardless of your age. Your body never stops responding to demand. It only stops responding to neglect. Let us begin. The first movement is a seated leg extension, and it serves as our joint warm-up. Sit in a solid, stable chair, not a rolling office chair and not a deep recliner. Choose a firm chair where your feet rest flat on the ground and your knees are bent at roughly 90 degrees. Place your hands gently on your thighs. Now slowly straighten your right leg out in front of you until it is fully extended. As you straighten it, flex your foot so your toes point toward the ceiling. Hold that fully extended position for a count of 3 seconds. Feel the muscle on the front of your thigh tighten and engage. That is your quadriceps, and it is arguably the most important muscle for maintaining your independence. This is the muscle that straightens your knee when you walk, that locks your legs solid when you stand, that catches you and absorbs impact when you stumble on an uneven sidewalk. For many people over 60, this muscle has been receiving almost no signal from the brain because it has not been seriously challenged in years. This exercise is a direct wake-up call to those dormant fibers. Now slowly lower your right leg back to the starting position, taking a full 2 seconds to bring it down. Switch to the left leg and repeat. Extend fully, toes to the ceiling, hold for 3, and lower for 2. Alternate legs for 10 repetitions on each side. Breathe in through your nose as you lower the leg and breathe out through your mouth as you extend it. Do not rush through this. If you hear mild popping or crackling in your knee, that is typically normal. It is gas bubbles releasing within the joint fluid. As long as there is no sharp or sudden pain, Continue with confidence. This movement is pumping warm synovial fluid across your knee cartilage and waking up the neural pathways between your brain and your quadriceps. Every repetition is rebuilding a connection that has been weakening for years. The second movement targets your calves, and this muscle is far more important than most people realize. Your calf muscle is often called your second heart by cardiologists because every time it contracts, it physically squeezes the veins in your lower leg and pushes blood upward against gravity back toward your heart. When your calves are weak, blood pools in your lower extremities, which is where that uncomfortable ankle swelling and those heavy, tired legs come from. Beyond circulation, strong calves are the primary stabilizers of your ankle joint, and your ankle is the very first line of defense when you step on an uneven surface or catch the edge of a rug. Stand behind your chair and place both hands on the backrest for balance. Position your feet about hip-width apart. Now slowly rise up onto the balls of your feet, lifting your heels as high as you possibly can. Imagine a string attached to the crown of your head pulling you straight toward the ceiling. At the very top of that rise, squeeze your calf muscles hard and hold for 2 full seconds. Then lower your heels back to the ground slowly, taking a full 3 seconds to descend. This slow lowering phase is called an eccentric contraction, and research has consistently shown that eccentric loading builds more strength and more tendon resilience than the lifting phase. Perform 12 repetitions, rising for 2 seconds, holding for 2, and lowering for 3. If a cramp begins to grip your calf, stop immediately, straighten your leg, and pull your toes firmly toward your shin. This releases the cramp almost instantly. If you suffer from nighttime cramps, ask your doctor about magnesium glycinate supplementation before bed, typically 200 to 400 milligrams, as low magnesium is one of the most common causes of muscle cramps in older adults. The third movement is the sit to stand, and it is the single most functional exercise you can perform because it directly mirrors a motion you execute 30 to 50 times every single day. Getting off the toilet, getting out of the car, rising from the dinner table. When this movement becomes difficult, your world shrinks in ways that break my heart as a physician. You stop going to restaurants because the booth seats are too low. You stop visiting friends because their soft couch traps you. You begin dreading the bathroom. Sit on the front edge of your chair and scoot your hips forward. Plant your feet flat on the floor, slightly wider than shoulder width. Cross your arms over your chest so your legs must do 100% of the work. Lean your chest slightly forward to shift your center of gravity over your feet, then drive upward through your heels to a full standing position. Pause at the top for 1 second. Then lower yourself back down with complete control, as though you are sitting on a carton of eggs and you refuse to crack a single one. That slow, controlled descent is where the deep strengthening happens because your muscles are resisting gravity while lengthening. Aim for 8 to 10 repetitions. If crossing your arms is too challenging right now, extend them in front of you for counterbalance. If that is still too hard, rest your fingertips lightly on the chair arms, but do not grip and do not push. Each week, use your hands a little less. That is your progress marker. And please, if you are doing these exercises in socks on a hard floor, stop and put on shoes with rubber soles. Socks on tile or hardwood are one of the leading causes of indoor falls. The fourth movement is a single leg balance hold. Balance is not a single skill. It is a continuous conversation between your feet, ankles, hips, core, inner ear, vision, and brain. When that conversation slows down, you fall. Stand next to your kitchen counter with one hand resting lightly on the surface. Shift your weight onto your left leg and slowly lift your right foot just an inch or two off the ground. Hold for 15 seconds. While you stand there, pay attention to what is happening in your ankle. You will feel constant, tiny micro adjustments, small wobbles corrected dozens of times per second. That is your proprioceptive system at work, specialized nerve endings in your joints, reporting your body's position in space to your brain. Every second you spend standing on one leg trains those nerve endings to fire faster and more accurately. After 15 seconds, switch legs. If this feels easy, Hover your hand above the counter instead of resting on it. If that is comfortable, try closing your eyes, which removes your visual balance input and forces your ankles and brain to work dramatically harder. Only attempt this with a spotter nearby. Perform 3 rounds on each leg. This single exercise done daily has been shown in clinical studies to reduce fall risk by up to 40%. The 5th movement targets a muscle called the gluteus medius. You have probably never heard of it, but it may be the most important muscle in your body for staying upright. It sits on the outer side of your hip, and every time you take a step and one foot lifts off the ground, the gluteus medius on the standing side fires to keep your pelvis level. When it is weak, your pelvis drops, your knee caves inward, your ankle rolls, and you stumble. This is the domino effect behind most falls. Stand sideways next to your wall or counter with your near hand on the surface for balance. Feet together. Keeping your torso perfectly upright like a flagpole, slowly lift your outer leg directly to the side. Not forward, not backward, directly sideways. 6 to 8 inches is plenty. Hold at the top for 2 seconds, then lower slowly. Do 10 repetitions per side. The most common mistake is leaning your torso over the standing leg to lift the moving leg higher. That is cheating. 4 inches with a straight body is infinitely more effective than 12 inches while leaning like the Tower of Pisa. You should feel a deep burn on the outside of the hip of the lifting leg. If you feel it in your lower back, reset and stand taller. This muscle responds quickly. Within 2 to 3 weeks, most people feel noticeably more stable and rooted when they walk. Now sit down and drink some water because this is the nutritional secret I promised you. When you exercise, you are not building muscle in the moment. You are creating tiny microscopic tears in the muscle fibers. The actual building happens during recovery when your body repairs those tears and lays down new protein strands to make the fibers stronger. But it can only do this with the right raw material, which is protein, specifically an amino acid called leucine. Leucine is the master ignition switch that tells your body to begin muscle repair. Without enough leucine, the signal never fires and the repairs never start. Here is the critical problem for anyone over 60. Your body develops what scientists call anabolic resistance. A 25-year-old needs about 1.5 grams of leucine per meal to trigger muscle building. A 65-year-old needs nearly 3 grams for the same effect. The richest sources of leucine are whole eggs, Greek yogurt, chicken breast, salmon, tuna, cottage cheese, and whey protein powder. You should aim for 25 to 35 grams of protein at every single meal, and the key word is every. Most seniors eat almost no protein at breakfast, a little at lunch, and try to cram everything in at dinner. Your body cannot use it that way. Spread it across 3 meals, each with a palm-sized portion of quality protein, and do not overlook vitamin D3. Without adequate vitamin D, your muscles cannot contract efficiently, no matter how much protein you eat. Ask your doctor for a 25-hydroxyvitamin D blood test. And if you are low, take 1,000 to 2,000 international units of D3 daily with a meal containing fat. Here is your plan. Do this 5-movement routine 3 days per week. On your off days, walk, even 10 minutes counts. Eat protein at every meal. In the first week, you will feel sore. That is, your muscles remembering they have a job. By week 2, the soreness fades and the movements feel smoother. By week 3, you will stand up from a chair and realize you did not use your hands. By week 4, someone will notice. Your spouse, your child, your neighbor will say you seem more steady on your feet. That is not just a compliment. That is clinical evidence your muscles are rebuilding. If this video helped you, please subscribe. I have a video coming next week on warning signs your knees are deteriorating and what to do before it becomes surgical. Save this video and share it with someone over 60 you care about. You might be handing them back years of independence with a single link. Thank you for staying with me. Now go eat some protein. I will see you in the next one.